Hi, this is James from Tabletop Gaming Guild, and today we're going to look at the 2 to 5 player game RWBY by Arcane Wonders. So let's go down to the table. I'm going to give you a general overview of how the game plays, and we'll come back and I'll give you my final thoughts.
Okay, so this is going to be what a basic setup of RWBY might look like. Now, in the game of RWBY, you're going to pick one of the character boards, and there are several character boards in the game. And you're going to then get the cards for your selected character board. You're going to separate the black border cards with the gold border cards. These cards here are what you're going to level up into in between rounds. And these cards here are what you're going to play with. You're going to shuffle them up. And to start the game, you're going to draw 6. So you have 6 cards in your hand. Then you're also going to separate out the ultimate card. This is the card that you get to play when you get into this range here, and I'll explain that. After you've got your characters set up and you got your little mini, each of them comes with their own little mini set up, then you're going to select a scenario. And you're going to look at the end of the campaign book here, and it got a list of scenarios. And you can play them in seasons if you want, which will be like 3 sets of games each time. And we're just going to play the Dust Store Robbery scenario with Roman Torchwick and the White Fang Goons, which is an easy scenario. So you'll get out the White Fang cards and shuffle them up. And here's the scenario card. And the scenario card will tell you what the setup is. You're going to get the White Fang deck out and next to this objective, so it'll be right here. And you're trying to take out the White Fang extremists. And at the beginning of each duel, you're going to deal out 3 of these White Fangs, and I'll show you what that means in a minute. Oh, also on your player board, you're also going to get your semblance marker and put it face up. It's just going to have one side's going to have that symbol, the other side's not. Then you're going to put a marker on the 12 health and the 0 experience. When you get the villain deck, you're going to take a look at how many event cards you have, which will be these green cards. You're going to shuffle this entire deck out with the green cards outside of it. Then you're going to put them in equal piles, equal to the number of event cards you have out plus 1. Then each of the individual piles, you put the event card in, then you're going to stack them all on top with the one that didn't have an event card on the top. When you start the game, you're going to select someone to go first. And what they're going to do is, you already drew your 6 cards. You're going to go up and you're going to run through a battle for the villain. And your goal is going to be to get the villain down to 0 health through each round. Now, it said you're going to put out 3 White Fang cards. You actually put them down face down. And if you do not resolve these guys will actually do the damage listed on them to the person who's in the duel. And your friends can help while you're in the duel in multiple different ways. So what you're going to do is you're going to look at the top card of the villain deck. You're not going to be able to see what it is, but you can look at its stance. And let me show you here, there's a couple different types of stances you can have. There's an aggressive stance, which means it's going to be a high speed, generally attack. A balanced one can be like a effect or high speed, low speed, somewhere in the middle. And the subtle ones are generally going to be low speed, but they're going to do nasty stuff to you. And events always resolve. So you're going to want to pay attention to that. So knowing that, you're going to go ahead and get ready, and you're going to look at your cards. And the 6 cards you draw, those are the only cards you're going to get for the round of combat. So the whole thing until either 1 of 2 things happens on here. You fire off your ultimate ability here, or you get bashed, which you can get bashed in this range. When you fire off your ultimate ability, the duel immediately ends. You can also drop out of it if you want at any time, but the longer you stay in, the more advantages you're going to get. So what you're going to do is you're going to select a card. And when you're looking at the cards, you're looking at a couple different things. You're looking at the speed. You're looking at the damage that it can do, which is how many little stars that are in the corner here. And you're looking at the ability. Now, there is two different type of abilities. This is going to be the ability that you get if you're the active player. This is the ability you get if you are going to be assisting. So that's good to keep in mind. And notice that if this stance here is not going to be an aggressive one, you may not want to use up some of your higher speed ones. You may want to take a lower speed one, and it's going to be a chance. You could potentially do more damage, but you could also get hit. And basically the way that works, I'll show you. I'll just put this card down here. The other players can make a decision, and they can, on their turn, and what they can do is they can decide, let's say, you can either combo, which is going to join this, and when you join, you are throwing your lot in with the other active player, and the person with the lowest speed is the speed used in the combat. If you lose the combat, which I'll show you in a minute, both players will get the damage. You can just support, and what that's going to do is, that's a bad example of a card. You'll do like this: target ally gains +1 speed. So you put it over here, and this is just supporting this player, not actually comboing with that player. Comboing is nice because you add up all the damage, so you could do a ton. The other thing you can do is you can try to take out these players here. And what you're going to do for that is you're going to have to, again, beat their speed. So let's say, and their health, which I'll show you in a minute. So let's say I'll do a 9 speed against that one. So every player has selected what they want to do. Except for, I did need to mention that if you're another player, what you could do is, instead of doing any of those three things, you can rest. And when you rest, you're going to draw a single card, so you draw another card. And you will heal an aura. So in this game, you can be damaged pretty quickly, and you will be knocked out of the game if you go down to 0 aura. If all the players go down to 0 aura, you lose the game. Now, no one assisted at all, so Ruby's going to have to deal with the villain card that's now going to be revealed, which is an 8, which beats her speed. So what ends up happening here is this attack loses speed equal to Roman's speed bonus rather than gaining speed. So this guy here is still going to beat this card here, and Ruby is going to take a damage. So she'll go down 1. She failed the attack. If you pass the attack, you're going to gain some experience. Basically, if you damage the villain. And then she's going to fight this White Fang character. And what you're going to look at is the speed's higher. This character has 2 health. You're going to do 2 damage. She's going to take out this Acolyte. So it'll go over here. So that's good. So, and again, this isn't going to be a complete set of roles. This is just a general idea how to play the game. But this player would now get experience points. And I'll explain how to do what you do with experience points in a minute. But since Ruby lost this contest, she doesn't get up any on her Fury track, and the villain goes up 1. Now, if she would have successfully hit the villain, she will gain experience she'll gain experience, but she'll also move up this track equal to the number of damage she did to the villain. So if she did 3, she would go up 3. When you pass these different parts, you can get different things. Like this one here, all the players are going to gain a card. This one, you're going to gain additional experience. And this one, you're going to, and then this one here, you're going to gain speed. You're going to gain more experience, and you keep going up because these are cumulative until you get all the way to the end, and you're going to have to finish it off because you're going to gain +3 damage. And in this range here, like I said, you can fire off your ultimate This is an interrupt card. You're going to do, it can't be countered, and you're going to do that damage. And sometimes some of them give bonuses on the bottom, like this one lets it drop to 7 instead. If the villains gets all the way down to here, and at any point does damage to the active player, they're knocked out of the duel. If it gets past this point, the player's knocked out of the duel. Now, after a duel ends, you'll go ahead and do the little bit of cleanup that you need to do. And a duel can normally last, like, you're normally going to get in like 4 or 5. Well, you can get a max of 5 attempts to do some damage. After the duel ends, you're going to draw up to 6 cards, and you can expend your experience to upgrade your deck. To upgrade your deck, what you're going to do is you're going to look at these different cards, and you can only go up 1 level. So there's going to be tier 2 cards and tier 3 cards in here, and you're going to look at the experience points that you're going to have to spend, which is down here. So this will cost 5. And the cool thing about this game is when you're getting cards into your deck, you're actually not making your deck larger. So you're going to have more likelihood of drawing these awesome cards. What you do instead is you're going to select a card and replace it in the deck. So if I purchase this one, I could get rid of this card if I wanted, and now this one's in my deck. Now, the deck building portion of this game comes into play a lot more in the campaign, and you can get some really powerful combos in. But even in the regular game, you're going to get several cards in to your deck to improve it. Will make it nice and fast. Now, the one thing I didn't mention is RWBY would also take 3 damage here for not taking out these white fang ones. So she would actually be down to this. So it is a multifaceted thing on here for playing against the villain. The villain, the longer you're going to duel the villain, the more likelihood the villain's going to get permanent bonuses, which can be shown in this down, which makes the villain more and more deadly. Plus, you can get you'll get these nasty events that fire off. So they can do all sorts of devastating things and make it harder to beat the villain. So the game is really nice because it ramps up while you play, and you have this nice stress where you're going to have to move and work together to take out not only to mitigate any of the things that get thrown at you, but also do as much damage as possible, because each villain has a different starting health, and some of the scenarios bump it up. But I mean, you have 12 health and he has 65 health, so it's going to take a good chunk of hits to finish him off, and a lot of strategy you're going to need to use. There are a ton of scenarios in this base game, a lot. So there is a lot to pick from. And every game does feel different because of how you deal with the different crises and stuff, and how you're going to work together to take out the boss. So that is a super quick, brief rules overview of the game. I didn't go over hardly any of the rules to just give you an idea of how to play it. I'll let you know that there's other like monster decks that come with it. There's a Grim deck. I put out the White Fang deck. There's a General Henchman deck. Each of the bosses, which are 3, come with a giant deck, which is nice, and their own events, and they all have their own different flavor. Some of them have more aggressive or less aggressive. Some of them, like Torchwick, have more of the purple subliminal cards, and they're all feel completely different when you fight them. So let's go ahead back up to the table here, and I'll give you my final thoughts on RWBY Combat Ready.
So RWBY Combat Ready is awesome. I love this game. It's really fun with all the asymmetric powers of each of the different characters that you can pick. And I like the fact that the game feels like you're just playing a boss battle. Every game, you're actually at the boss battle and you're doing it. I like how the game ramps up, like while you're fighting the boss, they get harder and harder. And the longer you take, the more difficult it is to finish the game. I like that it's not just like, here's easy level and then it goes up. It's just a gentle ramp all the way up. I like all the meaningful decisions you can make in the game of whether you're going to join with your opponents and maybe suffer damage. I like that you can also combo and you can do all sorts of really fun games. This game is all about fun. It's all about the combos. It's all about working together cooperatively, which I love cooperative games, to defeat the bad boss. And there's a ton of scenarios in here, so there's a lot of replayability in there and a lot of different things you can do. And I like that you can play it as a season, so you can go through and you can progress your character and level them up. The leveling up during the card game is a lot of fun through the different rounds. It's reasonably difficult for all of the difficulty levels. They seem to match really well, so there can be a lot of challenge to the game. This game here, if you're looking for a combat game that is cooperative with a little bit of deck building, not a ton, it's just basically upgrading your deck. And the amount of cards in there, you generally get what you know what you're going to get. So you can deploy a lot of strategy with that, unlike some card game or deck building games where you get giant decks and you just get what you get. So I do like that a lot. So I recommend it for that. So if you're looking for a really fun cooperative combat game that doesn't take very long to play, that has wonderful asymmetric powers and gives you a lot of strategy and thought that you need to put through the game, I highly recommend RWBY Combat Ready. Thank you for watching.